Hello, I'm Alan, and welcome to today's edition of Alan's Cycling Adventures. Today we leave New York. We are headed for Vermont, Brattleboro to be exact. Today's going to be a big climbing day. It's also going to be another hot day, so we'll see how it all turns out. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or ideas for future editions of Alan's Cycling Adventures, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Well, without further ado, let's ride.
So for some of my videos, I don't have a lot to say and I end up having to try to fill time. This is not one of those videos. I actually have a lot to say and I hope I get it all in. If not, I will put it in the description as I have in the past. Let's see. We had an early start today. We started at 6:45 again. However, at dinner, we talked about the start time for tomorrow. And from a logistical point of view, the 6:45 a.m. mass start hasn't worked well for the organization. For various reasons. So we're doing a slightly early start. Instead of doing the usual 7:15, 7:30, we're going to do 7 a.m. and 7:15 a.m. However, a number of the people from the from the late group wanted to start at 6:45. So I think the 7 a.m. start may end up being a mass start like today and yesterday. The reason for the early start today and the reason we wanted an early start for tomorrow is because of this continuing East Coast heat wave. It was a hot one today. I do apologize for the video quality. As a result of the heat and humidity, I was sweating quite a bit, and anytime I tipped my head downward for any reason, the sweat would pour off the top of my head and out of the front of my helmet. And sometimes it would drip on the camera lens. Sometimes I wouldn't even realize it did. And I often didn't have anything to clean the lens with. So there are parts where it's a little blurry or obscured because of sweat on the lens. And so I apologize for that. Because of the heat today, we had 3 ice sock stations. You may recall from when we crossed the desert out west, an ice sock is a stocking filled with ice that you put down the back of your jersey. Well, and the ice sock stations, the 3 ice sock stations were at the Vermont state line crossing, as well as both of the SAG stops. I did get an ice sock at the state line crossing, and I also got an ice sock at the second SAG. But at that first ice sock station, Lance was there. He's one of the staff members. And he gave me a really great ice sock. So thank you, Lance. It had a ton of ice in it. And I still had quite a bit of ice when I got to the first SAG. So I just kept on and just waited till the second SAG to get another ice sock. An interesting observation about ice socks today versus ice socks out in the desert is out in the desert, as the ice sock melted, the water would evaporate. Well, out here, as the ice melts, it soaks your back, it soaks your shorts. It was actually running down my leg into my right shoe. More on that in a moment.
All right. We are getting ready to cross state line number 12 in just about a half a mile. This is quite a combination. First, there was a really bad car crash, partially blocking the road. They're letting us through. Then I'm about a half a mile from the state line, crossing into Vermont, and on top of it, I am at the base of one of my Garmin climbs. So, for that reason, this may be a little bit longer of a video than I anticipated. Let's see. I'll try to recap. We started in California, went into Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, or maybe it was Indiana, Illinois, I'm not sure which. Then Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and headed into our 13th state, Vermont. I think that's the ice sock station just ahead. I think I will be taking on an ice sock right at the Vermont state line. There it is. In the interest of never going backwards, I do. We're gonna stop and get an ice sock.
Then get a photograph of this.
All right, we gotta finish this video because I am not quite at the Vermont state line yet. And so here we go. And there is the sign. Welcome to Vermont, the Green Mountain State. Woohoo!
So as I was saying about the ice sock, as the ice melted out here with the high humidity, it wasn't evaporating, it was running down my back, running into my shorts, which got completely saturated. It ran down the backs of my legs, and at any time that I was coasting, I discovered that I coast more with my right leg straight than my left leg straight, because the water was predominantly running down my right leg. And by the time I got to the biggest climb of the day, my right foot was completely soaked. I mean, my sock was waterlogged. It's actually funny because I brought shoe dryers with me for the trip. My strategy was that if we got rain, which we haven't had a lot of, but if we got rain and my shoes got soaked through, at least I would have dry shoes the next day. Well, We didn't have rain in the forecast for today, although there were some thunderstorms at the end that some people got caught in. I didn't, but I actually have the shoe dryers in my shoes right now, drying out the moisture from the ice sock incident. In any event, that was my story regarding the ice socks. The biggest climb of the day is one that we refer to as the 8-mile climb. It was a climb, as you would guess from what we called it. It's a climb of 8 miles in length. It was after the first sag stop, and when we pulled into the first, or when I was getting ready to leave the first sag stop, my friend Jeff from Minnesota was just getting there. And he had spoken to Dana when he arrived at the sag stop, and so he came over and gave me a heads up that he spoke to Dana about what lied ahead. And Dana had told him that, you guys have already faced the worst of it. The rest of the ride isn't bad. Yes, the 8-mile climb is long, but it's gradual. You'll be fine. And so he wanted to relay that to me because I had been a little nervous about the 8-mile climb going into the start of the day. Well, I get to the 8-mile climb, and of course my Garmin has all different colors, especially the second half of the climb. For those of you who don't have a Garmin, when the climb profile shows up on the screen, it's color-coded as to how difficult it is. And it'll have green segments, yellow segments, red segments, orange, brown, black, depending on how tough that particular segment of that particular climb is. And so when it initially came up with all the colors, sometimes Garmin overdoes it, and I thought, well, Dana said it was going to be fine. First 4 miles of that 8-mile climb were nice and gradual, and then it started getting steep, and I got a chuckle out of that. When I ran into Dana at the second sag stop, I told him about my conversation with Jeff, and I told him that he is the ultimate optimist. And, he said that he basically was trying to help Jeff get motivated for the rest of the ride. But I thought it was pretty funny. Anyway, also regarding the rest of the ride, after that sag stop, there was another substantial climb. There were actually a couple of substantial climbs after the sag. But after the first substantial climb after that second sag, there was an absolute screaming descent. I mean, like, we lost 2,000 feet of altitude kind of screaming. With signs warning the trucks to use lower gear because it was over 8% going down. And so I crested the top of that climb. It turned out it was time for a gel stop. So I stopped, had a gel, and I started to ride again. And as I was riding, a pickup truck came up behind me. And I was continuing to accelerate. And while I was continuing to accelerate, he pulled into the opposite lane and started to accelerate to get past me. And he's going faster and faster and faster and barely passing me. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope this guy is going to fly down this hill. Nope. As soon as he was past me, the brake lights come on, and he rode the brakes the whole way down. And not only did he slow me down going down that descent, but his brakes overheated, and I got to smell his brakes the whole way down, which was nasty and disgusting. On top of it, at the bottom of the descent, he was turning left, and as soon as he turned left, it started uphill again. So at dinner, I was talking with other people who said that, they went down that screaming descent and then were able to carry enough speed to get over that little climb at the bottom. I was not. I had to work my way up it. In any event, yep. Oh no, I thought that was the pickup truck. I wasn't watching the video. I'm not sure what point I am in the video. But in any event, so that was basic. Oh, so I wanted to say that for every screaming descent, there is a crying climb. Whether it's before the descent, after the descent, at some point with every descent, there is a climb. Because this tour started at sea level and ends at sea level. By the way, at the end of the ride, there's two Jeffs on this ride. There's Jeff from Minnesota and Jeff from Massachusetts. I already spoke about Jeff from Minnesota earlier. I ran into Jeff from Massachusetts at the end of the ride. I stopped about half a mile from the hotel to get something to eat, and when I left my lunch stop, I got to a traffic light that was maybe 2 or 3/10 of a mile from the hotel and ran into Jeff, and he looked a little lost, so I helped him find his way, and the rest of the story is going to be in the description.
I wanted to thank Alan. I was a little bit lost there at the end of today and a little bit hot, and he brought me home to the hotel. So thanks a lot, Alan.
No problem. I saw Jeff just past an intersection I was approaching, and I think he was checking the cue sheet. So I just called out to him, and we were almost here. So anyway, we are here now. It is hot, and this was
very hot.
Yes, and this was a challenging climbing day. But we're here, we made it, and so until next time, stay safe out there.